Hello there and welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here then welcome. Today I wanted to talk about the new Dreamy Holiday Collection from Lawless, where we have an eyeshadow palette as well as one of their Forget the Filler gloss trios here. Now I will be doing 3 looks with this eyeshadow palette and it looks like this. So pretty, such a neutral staple, perfect for every day, doing quick and easy eye looks. I will be doing 3 different looks with this palette, as well as swatches and everything. I will have timestamps listed for you below. I'll be doing swatches of the glosses as well. The one I'm wearing right here is the shade Velvet. And then I also will be comparing the eyeshadow palette to the Tartelette in Bloom, because I did see a comment either here on YouTube or on Instagram saying that the Lawless is a spot-on dupe for this palette. So I did want to do a comparison between those, just in case if you have this one and you want to see how similar they are. But if all of this sounds interesting, then let's go ahead and get started. Okay, we have the Lawless, the Dreamy Dozen eyeshadow palette, as well as the Dreamy Darlings Forget the Filler Lip Plumping Line Smoothing Gloss Mini Trio. Well, that's a long title. But first things first, I want to start out with the eyeshadow palette. Just think this is a really pretty neutral palette, just perfect for every day. Just, you know, like a, I don't know, like just a palette that's like comfortable, I should say. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but just a palette that you know you can get some easy looks out of. So let's go ahead and do some live swatches with this palette. Okay, I'm going to start this shimmer shade right here, and then we're just going to go across. I'm going to try to do a pinky swatch. I'm not going to promise that that's going to turn out, but I'm going to try. Ooh, that's really pretty. I'm not the best at pinky swatches, I'm sorry. So that looks really... Okay, I'm not the best at pinky swatches, so we're not going to judge that shade too much, but they feel really soft, really pretty. I'm going to try to leave a space over here because I am going to be swatching that Tartelette palette on this side, so I'm going to try to leave a little bit of space, so I kind of had wiped away a little bit of the shadows right here to make some room. Okay, let's try the next 4. Let's see how these look. Okay, that shade is kind of like my skin tone, so it might not show up so well. So I do want to point that out. And then we'll swatch the other shade right here, below my tattoo, so you can see it. Don't want you to... Once I have them all swatched out, I'll zoom out so you can see them all together. Okay, and we got the last row. This shade right here that I'm swatching now, that's another one that might not show up so well when I swatch it, because it's another one that looks kind of like my skin tone, but I will do my best to show you. Okay, that one showed up pretty good. They're really soft eyeshadows. And here you can see the whole palette swatched out. It's times like this that I wish I didn't have that tattoo right there, but I don't want to swatch over it because I want you to be able to see the shadows. Also, the one thing that I'll say, and I'm going to try to show you, do you see how it looks like these shadows are popped up? And I've tried pressing them down, but they continue to pop up, so I don't know if that's just the one I got that's just like that, but I wasn't a big fan of that it's popping up like that. And I think when I close it, the magnet's pulling it up even more, but I did want to point that out. That might have just been the one I got, but I don't know if that might be a common thing with them or not, but I did want to point that out. Okay, I wanted to compare the Dreamy Dozen palette to the Tartelette in Bloom because I saw someone either, I can't remember if it was over here on YouTube or if it was on Instagram, where they said that the Dreamy Dozen was a spot-on dupe for the Tartelette in Bloom. So I wanted to compare the two of them. Okay, I'm going to have to hold it flat because the Tarte one will reflect. I wanted to compare the two of them and see if they really were spot-on dupes or not, because if you have the Tartelette in Bloom, then you might not want the Lawless. But I did go ahead and swatch these out, and there you can kind of see the swatches. It's really hard to show you, so I will zoom in a little closer. But I was trying to show you all of them together, but that's really hard with the way they went all the way up my arms, so let me just zoom in for you so you can kind of see for yourself the shades. Now, they are definitely not spot-on dupes. Definitely not. So if you do have the Tartelette in Bloom and you were interested in this palette, there are some shades that are similar to one another, but they're definitely not spot-on. But I did want to compare the two of them just in case, because I did see that comment and thought that was interesting. Then we have the Dreamy Darlings little set, which has the shade Rosy Outlook, Nudie, and Velvet in it. Now, I believe these are all existing shades already. I know Rosy Outlook is because I do have a mini of that one, and I will double check on these, and if I'm wrong, I will pop it up here on the screen if these are set exclusive. So let's go ahead and swatch these out. Okay, we have the shade Rosy Outlook, which this one's kind of like a clear shade. It has maybe a hint of pink to it, or it did, but it looks pretty much clear this time. It looks like it has a pink tint to it in the bottle, but it's pretty much clear. I do own a mini of this one from a set I got before, and I really did enjoy it, and I'm about finished with it. Okay, now we have the shade Nudie. It's a pretty shade. And then we have the shade Velvet. Oops. So there you can see the three shades right there. And if you've never tried this formula from Lawless, even though they're plumpers, they don't have that stinging feeling. For me, they just have like a cooling feeling on the lips, so I did want to just point that out in case you've never tried this formula, but it is a really nice one. Okay, before I zoom in and start the eyeshadow looks, I just wanted to show you this. This is the shade Nudie, which is basically, it has a slight tint to it, but for the most part, it's pretty much, I guess it looks pretty clear on the lips anyway, which I don't personally mind that. More than likely, I would wear it over a lipstick or over a lip liner, but I did want to show you that shade by itself. Now, Rosy Outlook is definitely a clear. So I'll show you this one, and then when I do my look tomorrow, I will show you the shade Velvet. Okay, I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did with the Mario palette. I'm just going to go row by row so I can use every shade in the palette to get my final thoughts on it. So we're going to start with this shade right here on a blending brush from e.l.f. And I'll start running that in my crease. I didn't pick up much. I can always go back in if I need to and build it up, but I like to start out with a small amount. It builds really nice on itself, and these are really soft eyeshadows. Okay, using that same brush, I'm going in with this shade right here. And we'll start stamping that on this outer corner of my eye. I might have picked up too much, but it's okay, it's okay. These are really soft, and they blend pretty easily, so we'll see how that goes. And then I'm just going to start blending around the edges of that shade. There's some really pretty warmth to that shade. It's really pretty. It's like a cozy shade, if that makes sense. Also, ignore any like messiness out here. I will be cleaning that up later. So now I'm going to take this shade right here. I'm just going to take that on my finger since I have these short press-ons right now. And let's press that on this inner portion. Ooh, that's really pretty. Go back and I'm going to blend around that shade. Okay, I'm just going to do some mascara and a lash on that side, and I'll be right back to do the lower lash line. Okay, this lash that I'm wearing right here is from Ioni. These are the 3D faux mink lashes in Natural Light Wispy. These are some of my favorite pair. They're just really like a pretty natural lash. Okay, then I'm going to go in with this shade right here on a small angled brush from e.l.f. I do want to point out, and I'm just going to run this on my lower lash line, but I do want to point out that these shades really are powdery. They're very, very soft, so they give a lot of kickback in the pan. So I did want to bring that up in case that bothers anybody. I don't personally mind it, I just know to be more careful with them. I think they're just really, really pretty shades. They're just soft and they're easy to work with. I haven't struggled so far with anything. Okay, then I'm going to go back in with this first shimmer shade on that same brush. I'm going to pop that on the inner corner. And there is look number 1 all done. Okay, for look number 2, I completely forgot that there was a skin tone shade in this next row, so I've already set my eyeshadow primer with my Rimmel Stay Matte Pressed Powder, so I'll just use this shadow some other way in my look. Maybe just keep the shadows I use on my lid all matte, and then I can use the shimmer on the lower lash line. I completely forgot about that shade. But I'm going to start with this shade right here on a blending brush from e.l.f. I only dipped twice into that shade because I figured that shade would be a lot more pigmented. It is a little deeper. And go back in with a little bit more and build that shade up. Just a touch. Okay, using that same brush, I'm going in with this shade right here. Start stamping that on this outer portion of my lid. I didn't pick up too much of that shade because it is really pigmented. I'm kind of stamping to get all that pigment off first and before I go in with blending that out. I wiped off any excess pigment on that brush. I'm just going to start blending around the edges of that shade. Just want to make sure everything's blended out nicely. These shades blend out really easily, so I feel like if you are someone that you struggle with blending, this might be a really perfect palette for you because these shades just blend together really nicely. Okay, and then I'm going to take this shade on a concealer brush from e.l.f. Since I forgot to use this as a setting shade, I'm just going to use it like this, and we'll just do an all matte look here on the lid. Kind of tapping that shade in first. I feel like that helps get most of the pigment down. Okay, I'm just going to do mascara and put this lash over on here, and I'll be right back to do the lower lash line. Okay, I'm going to take this shade on a small angled brush from e.l.f. Run that on my lower lash line. I'm going to put this shade down first because I'm going to go in with that shimmer shade. Okay, then on that same brush, I'm going in with this shade right here. And I'm going to run that right here on the beginning portion of my lower lash line. I'm also going to take a little bit of that for my inner corner as well. And here is look number 2, all done. Okay, and before we get started on the eye look, I just wanted to show you, this is the shade Velvet from the Lip Plumper Gloss. They're pretty much all clear, but if that doesn't bother you, I think these are an amazing formula. I know they're called plumpers, but they don't have that stinging feeling. To me, they just feel like they give a cooling effect. But I did want to show you that one, but they pretty much all look clear on the lips at the end of the day, but I think it's a really nice formula. Alright, we got the last row here, and I'm going to take this shade right here on a Flawless concealer brush from e.l.f. I'm going to try taking that and setting my eyeshadow primer. I know when I did this with the Mario palette, that shade just didn't really, I don't know, it did something weird. But I think these eyeshadows sometimes can be a little too thick, whereas my Rimmel powder is really finely milled, or whatever you want to call that, so it's just a thinner powder. And it doesn't do that on the eye, so I don't know about this one. I mostly like setting my lid with that Rimmel powder. I don't really like setting it with eyeshadows like this. I used to use all eyeshadows that would be like my skin tone, but now I just prefer that Rimmel powder. It don't look as bad, but it does make it look more textured. But I did want to try it out just so I can see. Okay, I'm going to go in with this shade right here on a fluffy eye blender brush from e.l.f. And I forgot to mention, these eyeshadows do have shade names. They're just printed on the back. And then I'm going to start fluffing that all up into my crease. I use this really more fluffier brush because I'm not really given a lighter matte in this row except for the skin tone shades. So I wanted something a little softer in my crease. So I wanted to use this big fluffy brush to help diffuse it out. But I will say, these eyeshadows are really, really soft and they're easy to blend out, so it wouldn't have been much of an issue, but I still wanted to use a fluffy brush. And they build really nice on themselves, so if you need to make the pigment a little stronger, then you definitely can do that. Then I'm going to take a blending brush and go in with this shade right here. Start pressing that on this outer corner. Now you can definitely use a more dense brush and really pack on the pigment, but I am someone that loves to keep darker shadows soft. That's just what I prefer, but you can definitely build this shade up. And I like using a blender brush like this because then I can easily just press the pigment down and then start blending around the edge. I had planned originally to do a halo eye, but I just really love this eye shape on me. Like, just do like the shimmer and then the mattes on the outer. I don't mind halo eyes. I do think they're pretty. I just like this type of style better for me. Okay, yesterday I used my finger with the shimmer shades. I didn't ever take one on a brush, so I want to see how they perform with a brush. So I'm going to take this shade right here on a concealer brush from e.l.f. I'm not going to spray my brush either. I'm going to see how it performs on its own. I just want to see. That is really not bad with a brush at all. That's such a pretty shade. Wow. Ooh, that's pretty. And you probably could use your finger or spray your brush to even further intensify that, but honestly, that looks really amazing just by itself on the brush. Okay, I'm just going to do my other eye off camera as well as mascara and a lash, and I'll be right back to do the lower lash line. Okay, these lashes right here are from Ioni. These are the 3D faux mink lashes from their Voyage collection, which is the New York Wispy Natural Long Spiky. Okay, and then I'm going to go in with this shade right here on a small angled brush from e.l.f. And I'm going to drag that about maybe a third of the way on my lower lash line. Then using that same brush, I'm going in with this shade right here. And I'm going to place that on this beginning portion of my lower lash line. Okay, and here is the third and final look all done. But there you have all three looks with this eyeshadow palette and using all of the glosses. Now, I didn't use Rosy Outlook on camera. That's basically a clear. They are pretty much for the most part clear, all of them in my, or at least the shades that I've tried. Maybe some of the deeper shades might have a little bit more of a tint, but either way, I do enjoy the formula. I think they're really nice, and I think this is a really cute set to try out if these were shades you were interested, or if you just want to try out the formula if you've never tried them before. I think this is a really nice way to do so. And the eyeshadow palette, the Dreamy Dozen eyeshadow palette, I really do like this palette. I think that it's just a perfect staple in anybody's collection, easy everyday looks, and I love neutral palettes. And if you are a neutral lover and you are looking to pick this up, I don't think you'd be disappointed with the quality. However, you're not missing out. If you're not going to pick this one up, I also will say you're not going to miss out, because I'm sure you have plenty of palettes in your collection already that look exactly like this. But I do enjoy it, and I am happy to have it in my collection. But thank you so very much for watching. I do hope that you will consider leaving a like, a comment, or subscribing if you haven't already. It truly means the absolute world to me, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!